Hello, my name is Ray LC. I'm at the City University of Hong Kong and also an independent artist. And I am going to be talking about the AHA agent. So the way that we created generative art-based artwork in team-based production and how that process works and the kind of works that we generated from that. So we are with the Studio for Narrative Spaces. So we work with performers and roboticists, designers, etc., and we use narratives in our HCI type investigations. So the works that we actually show here at ISEA involves a bunch of different works, including, for example, Regenerate and Remove, which are videos that you can find on the Steely Pro platform. And they all have to do with some sort of generative AI type component, for example, using ChatGPT or using Stable Diffusion, etc., etc. Today, though, I will focus on one work, which is the present and the future is the past. So this work is with some students of mine and also working with the local and also online participants to allow them to tell generative AI-based stories. And we want to describe that workflow to you a little bit. So this work is also shown in different places. For example, it's a paper accepted at DIS and was shown at the Hong Kong Arts Center, Goethe Institute, and supported by the Goethe Institute Korea. So the rationale behind this work is that the usual museum exhibits on cultural heritage is quite oftentimes very historical based, and the real physical reconstruction is not actually what it really is. So for example, you will see things like this in the museum, which indicate kind of our representation, our imagination of what it was like in the past. And the photos from the past are kind of not put in the context that they should be. And so really, we're missing out on the way that the people from the past actually are telling the stories about those buildings and those locations. So these are the kind of intangible type of heritage that's missing from the current types of exhibitions in this area. So this reconstruction, as you can see, it can be very tricky as well. So in this case, for example, from the Knossos site. And so you can see that a single fragment is actually interpreted by different archaeologists to be completely different things. In one case, it's a boy, in one case, it's a monkey. And so our current interpretation is not what it was in the past. So how can we keep track of what it was that people felt this thing to be in the past? So this is our work. So our work consists of basically allowing participants to actually tell their stories about the cultural heritage. So the missing angle is really about the way that people think about the cultural heritage, and we want to preserve that. So we want to preserve this mental and kind of emotional ideas that people have and their relationship with this cultural heritage, what their habits are involving this, what kind of things they do, and where they how their family go and play at these playgrounds, for example, and want to keep track of that and kind of show that to the future, basically. So in the workshop itself, we did a bunch of things with these local and online participants. So for example, we allowed them to use Stable Diffusion to actually depict the entities that they imagine, so they can create some exploratory scenarios, and also they would kind of change the AI prompts to make them fit the ideas. So this generative AI approach actually allows them to give kind of personal narratives that come out of this. So for example, if someone was kind of painting this church facade, they would have different images for them to kind of choose from, and they can change the prompt and get their kind of personal narratives onto the paper. And these are people who are not able to like actually draw and effectively communicate in that way. And so this is kind of allows them to use a process for a form of idea to express their image of these cultural heritage places. So there's also some interesting findings for this idea. So for example, there's some refinement of details that they do with the generative AI outcomes. So for example, like how do they put the cars there, and sometimes the cars are too much, so then they remove the cars and they, et cetera, et cetera. So they keep refining the details until it matches what they think it should be represented as. So they also kind of really give their own ideas of interpretation of these places. So for example, in this case about the real entity and the generated entity, right? So the generated entities don't actually look like what it physically looks like in the current time. But actually, these generated entities now gives them some ideas about, oh, maybe this is what it would look like, or it could look like in the future. So it actually gives them some ideas about this. Um, Now, there's also some really interesting things that they're doing. So, because, for example, they can actually take different perspectives of the same location. They can take a look at the place from somewhere far away, and then they can take a look at as a Chinese style versus a kind of Western style, for example. Um, Now, there are some really important challenges that are associated with this process. So, for example, they can't really see the precise locations and context very well sometimes. So, for example, if they try to put this kind of soldier in the real monument here that they're trying to put, they actually can't really put them there because the soldiers would the sculpture would always be put on top of the monuments. So they're having these kind of challenges where they can't get the generative AI to do what they want. And also the generative AI doesn't have like specific cultural context very well. So for example, in this case, the participant wanted to put tanchu. So this is kind of like this like sugar ball kind of treat. So when they actually wanted to generate this in the marketplace, like the generative AI would actually give these like completely unrelated like balloon type stuff that's like wrong basically. There's also kind of this Western bias, and this is associated with the models themselves, and this includes things like Midjourney and other types of text-to-image tools. Is that, for example, when they put the original Chinese, they wanted to generate this original Chinese clock tower. Well, whatever comes out has this kind of Chinatown-like feel, right? So even this like Chinese style, actually looks like kind of a Western style, right? Kind of, so you're kind of unable to actually generate like Eastern style buildings basically. So I encourage you to take a look at our website and also link through the Steely platform to see what the actual installation looks like. So for example, we created these painting-like things for them to actually see these images that are generated by the participants. So this is a whole participatory influence. So it's like a team-based kind of generative outcome. And also, we created a basic AR app for allow people to see their generative outcomes. So these pictures that they generated. So in this case, we have a physical building, and then people can basically like take a look using their phone onto the marker on these physical building on this 3D model, and then this would output the actual generated outcome from the participants. We also created a robotics outcome that comes with this. So what happens here is actually we used AxiDraw to actually draw a sketch version of what the participants created. So they're actually like slowly drawing this thing in a tangible way. So what this allows you to do is to give this like tangible nature to this interaction. And the outcome tangible images can also be part of the AR. And actually the AR is also really smart because it uses the actual sketches as markers. So as the images are being drawn, actually they start to have an effect where you can see the outcomes from the actual pictures that the participants created themselves. So it kind of slowly develops, and you can see the tangible nature of these sketches being made in real time. So you can take a look at our video to see what that looks like. So anyways, I want to also tell us about our Kai work. This is related to this, and this is kind of what our presentation here is referring to, is when teams work with generative AI to create, in this case, a stage performance kind of setting. So I encourage you guys to look at Yanning Han's paper, myself as the main mentor for this. And in this case, we looked at how teams and what the team strategy specifically happens when they actually work with these generative AI tools in a collaborative artistic practice, basically. So I highly encourage you guys to take a look at this in Kai 2024, when teams embrace AI. In our work, this in ISEA, we show a couple of videos. So one is called Regenerate. This is my work from myself and Letitia Basanariari Hendra, and this is a generative AI created video, and also Time After Time. And so this is with filmmaker Mia Yao Lan. So both of these work uses basically generative AI in the production process, and it's a team-based approach. So basically I wanted to kind of show you guys this in ISEA. So here's our lab. So I want to refer you guys to our Xiaohongshu and also our IG to get more information, and hope you guys can take a look at our work.